Hi, everybody. March 17th, 2022. Peter Greenberg here with our Facebook Global Travel Update. I guess I can say happy St. Patrick's Day, but there's not a lot of happiness in the world. I want to focus first on Ukraine and give you some important resources for people who really have boots on the ground and are helping the very people who need it the most. And I hope you guys can contribute in any way you can. AmeriCares, Operation USA, that's opusa.org, and All Hearts and Hands. These are three organizations that have people on the ground now that are helping in every way they can. Of course, there's Doctors Without Borders. They're having a very terrible time in certain parts of Ukraine where it's been cut off, and even especially when the hospitals have been shelled and bombed. So, if you can, please research these. Please go on their websites and do whatever help that you can to make life a little easier in this terrible, horrendous, evolving situation that we find ourselves in that part of the world. And obviously, I'll be covering this on the radio show this Saturday as well, and giving you updates on that. And again, it's evolving and it's getting worse. It's not going to go away anytime soon. So that's the report, at least from that point of view, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. In the world of travel, of course, it's been wildly affected by this because you have a perfect storm of the area that's concerned and all the airspace that's been cut off. We're talking essentially about 60% of the airspace in the world that's usable and viable being shut down because it's either bordering on Russia, or it is Russia, or it's over contested areas like Ukraine. That's adding to the problem. Of course, even though oil went down below $100 a barrel, it's been as high as $120 a barrel. That doesn't mean that the price at the pump has gone down. I refueled my tank just a few days ago in Los Angeles at $6.29 a gallon. Ouch. And that's going to be with us for a while as well. It's interesting to figure out what's the tipping point now for American travelers, because with fuel prices going up and airlines being understaffed and overscheduled, what does that mean? They're cutting routes, they're cutting capacity, planes are getting more full at a time of increased demand. In fact, the travel demand right now is bigger than it was in 2019, and yet the availability is being reduced. Southwest Airlines cutting, ready for this, 14,000 flights. 14,000 flights that are canceled. United Airlines cutting 2,500 flights in May, but 20,000 flights for this summer. It's a lot of capacity going out. A lot of cities being affected by that. Some secondary and tertiary cities either having reduced service or in some cases no service at all. All that translates to higher ticket prices. Let me give you an example. 10 days ago, the round trip flight ticket from Los Angeles to San Francisco, a flight that takes about 38 minutes in the air, was $93. You know what it is today? $353. My trip from New York to Los Angeles 2 weeks ago was $108. Today, it's $350. That, by the way, that's a one-way. So this is what we're seeing now, and it's going to stay that way more than likely through the summer. So if you're making travel plans, we talked about this last week and the week before with airfares going up 7 to 10% every 10 days. How about 20% already in the last 5 days? So fasten your seatbelt for that. Some interesting developments. The Senate passed a bill. We'll see what happens in the House to drop the mask requirement on public transportation. We're seeing airlines overseas going against their own governments, especially the British airlines, saying they're at the end of this month, they're dropping the mask requirement. They're making it voluntary. That'll be interesting to see. So we're seeing that mask deadline coming up again, April 18th. They kicked the can down the road for another month. My guess is they'll probably keep it till the end of Memorial Day, and then it will go away, at least on public transportation. The one rule that's still around, the 24-hour rule that you have to get a negative COVID test before you can come back to the United States within 24 hours of your actual departure time. Where am I today? I flew here last night from Panama, where we were doing one of my shows. And where am I today? The little poster behind you might tell you a place that most people don't even know exists. The Opera House in the Bronx. That's right, the Opera House in the Bronx. Building goes back more than 100 years. The Marx Brothers played here. Harry Houdini played here. Great operas were performed here. It was once a Pentecostal church. It was actually a disco at one point, and now it's been converted to a wonderful hotel right here on 149th Street, a street I know very well because even though I'm born and raised in Manhattan, where did I go to high school? The Bronx. And of course, 149th Street was where I changed trains to the Woodlawn Jerome line that would take me up to West 205th Street and the Bronx High School of Science. Funny story about that. I'm here to tell you that I survived that subway trip because to get to Bronx Science, you first had to stop at Kingsbridge Road. Kingsbridge Road was the home of Walton High School, an all-girl high school where they would beat the crap out of us. They were mean and they were violent. Now, we then got off the train at 205th, but the train kept going to one more station, right? And what was that station? Clinton High School, the all-boy high school. They would beat the crap out of us. So here's our problem. It wasn't just getting to school, it was coming back because the Clinton guys got on the train before we did, so they were waiting for us. And the next stop, the Walton girls were waiting for us. That's when I decided to major in extracurricular activities and not go home from school until 6 o'clock at night because I just didn't want to get beaten up anymore. Now, having said that, did I have a great time in the Bronx? You bet. Did I have a great time on the Grand Concourse? You bet. Did I discover egg creams and licorice and of course, the traditional malteds right there on the Grand Concourse and Pelham Parkway? Had a great time. And that's why we're back here doing a story here on the Bronx. That's where we are today. Of course, send in all your comments when you can. There's more stuff to talk about as well, and that is reciprocity. You know, we've been seizing the oligarchs' yachts. We've been seizing a lot of other property. We've been freezing accounts. Well, now what are the Russians doing? Interesting story. Aeroflot used to be an airline made up of really bad Aleutians and Tupolev planes. Junk, right? They once claimed they were the largest airline in the world based on the number of planes they had. They forgot to tell you that most of those planes were unflyable. They were junk and parked out in scrapyards, but they counted them. Well, in the last 20 years, Aeroflot's gotten its act together, and it's flying either European Airbus equipment or Boeing equipment. Well, they now have 500 planes that they lease. And guess what? They're not paying the lease payments, and nobody can go get them. They're all in Russia. And what does that mean? You know what that means. That's a $10 billion set of assets that's not moving. It's going to be part of the game they're going to be playing as the situation continues. I just wanted to tell you that. So it's not over yet. One other thought I want to tell you, I gave you the story about airlines. Well, inflation is driving hotel rates up. The fear about going to Europe and that part of the world in Eastern Europe is letting a lot of Americans think they shouldn't be traveling there this year. I have a different opinion about that, but be that as it may, that means domestic travel is going to be jammed this year. Good luck getting into a national park, even a state park. Hotel rates are going to go up. I don't even have to tell you about rental car rates. So if you're making plans, do them now. And this brings up the idea of trip stacking. We talked about this before. People making multiple reservations on multiple destinations where they know they can cancel without recrimination and without penalty. So it's happening again. People making multiple reservations, trying to keep their options open. All right, let's go to some of your questions and say hello. Let's start scrolling up. And here we go. Hello, Patrick Cooney. I just saw you in LA last week. How are you, sir? Laurel, in fact, I saw Patrick at the LA Travel and Adventure Show where I was speaking. And one piece of housekeeping I'll tell you is I'll be doing my speech this week at the Javits Center on both Saturday and Sunday at the Travel and Adventure Show. I hope you'll come down and hear me and meet me, and we're glad to have a conversation there. Laurel says, Happy St. Patrick's Day. Nancy wants to know about the France COVID changes. It's happening. The masks are getting withdrawn, especially for indoor dining. The testing requirements are getting revised. Remember, there used to be you had to prove a test before you got there, and then a test once you got there. That's all going away. But again, it's based on what? Proof of vaccination. That's the metric that counts, right? All right. And we're going to get the approval very soon from the CDC for that second booster shot. So get ready for that. Okay. Chris says, blessings from Miami. Robin says, hello from Williamsburg. Robin's always on. Stephen Graves, greetings from Tennessee. Okay. Colin says, thanks for starting out with how we can help people. Yes, we have to do this, folks. We have to help. Do not wait. Seconds count right now. Get online, go on those websites and see how you can help. It's not about just writing a check. You need to know where your money is going, and that it's going right to on-the-ground services and resources there to help people who need it the most. And it's basic stuff. Okay. Good morning from San Diego from Catherine. Why? She says, do we need to do a COVID test when returning from Rome to the U.S. in May? Well, right now, the answer is yes. That's that 24-hour rule. Now, can we get tested at our Hilton hotel or where? Well, here's the good thing. Most hotels will provide that service. It's more of a concierge service, and it will cost you more. Just warning you. Right now, though, any hotel concierge, believe me, it's a question they get asked constantly. So you can call the concierge at the Hilton in Rome, and they'll tell you exactly the local testing services that are within walking distance of the hotel that can give you a rapid antigen test. The U.S. accepts that now. It's not a PCR test you need. It's a rapid antigen test in order to come home. Okay? And Catherine is also praying for Ukraine. Indeed. Hello from Oakland, says Mike. Robert says, have I done Amtrak between Denver and Grand Junction? I have. I'm a big fan of the Zephyr. And it runs every day. And it goes to Union Station in Denver, which is a great location as well, and a very cool hotel right there as well. That's, by the way, where the Rocky Mountaineer does their trips now across from between Denver and Moab and Utah in the summer. That's going to be coming up again in just a couple of months. Hello from Mary. Okay. Colleen says, we'll be in Slovenia and Croatia all of May. We had planned to use euros in both countries, but now I'm being told that the euro won't place the Croatian kuna until September. I don't want to return from an all-day hike only to be refused a beer at the local pub. Okay, here's the deal. It's very simple. Before you leave home, find out which debit cards and which banks will allow you a fee or free fee or no fee ATM overseas. A number of financial institutions will do that. Even investment companies like Schwab. There are some Capital One cards that'll do it. BofA will do it. Find out, and then just go to the ATM and get what you need. You don't have to go out and get a huge number of traveler's checks or try to exchange dollars. Just use your debit card there. You'll be much better off. Okay. Good morning from Denver from Evelyn. Augustine's tuning in from Uganda. Okay. All right. Kampala or Entebbe? You tell me. Okay. All right. Joy is saying, what's the best time to book airfare for Greece going in mid-September? Should we book now or wait until 54 days before traveling? Well, when in September? If it's after September 15th, you can do it 54 days out. If it's before, the fares usually don't go down until the second week. So there you have it. Karen says she didn't know I was a New Yorker. Yeah, born and raised. I have a better one for you, Karen. I've lived in the same building in New York since I'm 6 months old. How about that? Talk about creature of habit. All right. Kerwin says, I'm still wearing a mask on planes. I had a constant cougher on my plane last week. Look, I remember the days before the pandemic where a lot of people were wearing masks on planes because they're just worried about the flu and getting a cold. I get it. Okay. Jim and Harriet are saying hi from Richmond. And of course, my friend Peter, hello from Kigali in Rwanda. Willie's saying hello from Atchison, Kansas, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Jonathan Ackman wants to know if I need introductions to any of the Arthur Avenue vendors. Oh, no. I know about the bakery. On Arthur Avenue. I'll probably be going there later today For what? A cannoli. That's the old Italian stuff, you know. Okay. Do you think the airliners in Russia could be grounded via software? Well, it all depends on how they're doing their flight plans and how they're doing their inertial navigation system. It gets a little technical, but remember, before a plane gets pushed back, it needs all sorts of documentation that they're going to get from their controllers and from air traffic controllers about the route they're going to be taking, the weather, the altitude, the waypoints along the way. And if they're not getting that information, they're not going up in the air. No pilot would dare go up in the air without that information. Okay. Consuela says, I used to go to a Latin club, Caravana, there back in the day. There are all sorts of club scenes here in the Bronx. People forget the diverse nature of this borough. It's so cool. Not to mention the Botanical Garden. Imagine this oasis in the middle of the Bronx, hundreds of acres. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hello from Boynton Beach from Debbie. Jeff wants to know, hey, hello from Long Island, heading to Barcelona, Spain in late April. What's the latest situation there? I'm going to give you my intuitive response, and I hope I'm right. I believe I will be. As crazy as the situation is in Ukraine, I do not believe, nor do any of our military commanders believe, that Putin is going to cross a border of a NATO country. Having said that, you know what? I would do a calculated risk if you wanted to go to Spain and go. Book it on a U.S. carrier so that if you have to cancel, you don't lose your money and you don't have a problem with that. But right now, that would be my feeling. I do not believe he is going to cross that line. It's a siege mentality for him. It's basically a Stalin-esque approach where he basically wants to starve these people and he wants to basically cut them off. And that's how he's going to win, he thinks. Let's see. Okay, can I recommend a good debit card to use in Europe? Yes, any debit card that's not going to charge you a fee to use an ATM and that you can use anywhere that you'll get the day of exchange rate from a local bank, not just an ATM. Remember this, when you exchange money at an airport, you're paying a commission on the way in and a commission on the way out, and the exchange rate itself isn't that beneficial. You're getting hosed twice. Use an ATM at a bank, you're getting the rate they're giving their own customers. Okay, and you're only getting what you need. All right. Rula wants to know if I'm optimistic about traveling to the EU. Look, I'm not optimistic about Ukraine and the situation there. It's horrendous. And I would never in a million years suggest we all go over and have fun this summer in a vacuum. But if you're asking me just a specific question about if I think it will be safe to travel to EU countries this summer, my answer, as I just gave before, is I think it will be. All right. Hello from Bremerton, Washington. I know Bremerton very well. That's where I got on a nuclear sub once called, not surprisingly, the USS Bremerton, which, by the way, was just retired about a year ago. It was a Los Angeles class attack submarine. And what an amazing experience that was. Started in Bremerton, Washington. Dominic says, happy St. Patrick's Day. Debbie says, just came back from a Caribbean cruise, Dominican Republic. And Bahamas fully open. San Juan need vaccination card to get into restaurants. But San Juan's dropped the testing requirements too, all of Puerto Rico. Patty wants to know if I can repeat the organizations aiding Ukraine. Yes, and we'll make sure that Anthony puts them on our website. They are AmeriCares, Doctors Without Borders, Operation USA or opusa.org, and All Hearts and Hands. 4 really great organizations where you can follow the money and know it's going where it needs to go immediately. All right. Mez is saying hello from Hungary from the Ukrainian-Hungarian border. Yes, it's a tough one there. Right now, the population, a lot of refugees going to Hungary, but more are going to Poland. As you may have followed in the news, the population of Warsaw is now 20% greater than it was a week and a half ago. It's all due to Ukrainian refugees. Okay. Robert says the Hilton had a nurse in the lobby in Copacabana. Okay. Some hotels are doing that. I was at a hotel yesterday in Panama that had a medical service in the hotel for us to do that 24-hour negative test. It was a rapid antigen test. It was about $30. We didn't get hosed. $30 is reasonable. Okay. Debbie wants to know if I'm going to try the Viking River cruises in the U.S., and the answer is I will. Lois wants to know a recommendation for a travel insurance company. That's a very tough one because the policy language is changing as we speak, not just in terms of whether or not you're covered or not covered for COVID, but whether or not they're going to cover you for anything else that's going on right now, considering what's going on in the eastern part of Europe. So check with a travel agent, right? Don't just go online. That's the worst thing you could do. Check with a travel agent who can explain the policy language to you, what the exclusions are in the policy you're interested in, either destination exclusions, health exclusions for the destination, or from a global health perspective, or exclusions about your own medical history or even your age. Go through that carefully, and then you'll know what to do. Okay. Hello from Tampa. Okay. Here's one. My Fidelity investment debit card has no fees and has saved me hundreds of dollars over the years. So there's one. Fidelity has one. Schwab has one. Capital One has a product that does that. I mentioned B of A. They're out there, guys. Okay. Kerwin says the number 2 train has an amazing array of stained glass at the station in the Bronx. That's the new train. Elizabeth says, I worked at Brooklyn Tech, the rival school. Brooklyn Tech, there are a number of specialized high schools in New York. You have to take a test for them. There's music and art, performing arts, Stuyvesant, Hunter, Bronx Science, and Brooklyn Tech. Brooklyn Tech has the distinction of being the only high school I know, at least when I was going to school, that had a foundry in the school. Think about that. They were doing ingots, right? And you had to take a test to get into them. I had to take a test. I wanted to go to music and art because they had the really cute girls. But my parents wanted me to go to Bronx Science because they promised 100% college admission. So I went and took the test for both. Tell you a funny story. I went to take the test for Bronx Science. And you have to understand that when there was open school night and the parents came to visit with the teachers, in every class I'd been taking in junior high school that was related to math or chemistry or science, or anything to do with design, the teachers would say to my parents, Dr. Greenberg, you don't really have hopes of your son becoming a chemist, do you? And they said, no, good, because he's not. I mean, that's how bad I was. But I went to take the test anyway, because my parents wanted me to go there. Well, many of you may remember, and there were like 200 questions on this test, and you could answer using, multiple choice on your number 2 pencil. Well, we all remember questions like this. If a train leaves Philadelphia going at 20 miles an hour and another train leaves New York going at 30 miles an hour, when do they meet? Okay, that question was not on this test. I could have handled that. The question that was on this test was, if a train leaves Philadelphia going 20 miles an hour, carrying 200 tons of super liquid cooled hydrogen at minus 53 degrees Celsius, oh my God. I was on question 8, struggling on question 8 of 200 when I heard the proctor say, 10 minutes. So what did I do? I did whatever you do when you're desperate. I took that number 2 pencil and I just filled in boxes all the way through the 200 questions. I just at random. Then I went to take the test at music and art. The written test, unbelievable easy. I was racing through it. I had all my essays done. My English was great. My social studies was great. I aced this. It was not a brainer problem at all. Done deal. I'm finished 20 minutes early. So I take my exam book, I go to hand it in, and I'm like, I'm going to go home. And the proctor said, where are you going? I said, well, I'm done with the test. He said, oh, no. That's your written test. Now you get to be first to audition. Now I played the piano, but I'd prepared nothing. Nobody told me I had to do an audition. And they usher me into this room with just one Steinway piano and 4 music teachers, all I'm sure from East Germany, sitting there tapping their feet going, well, Mr. Greenberg, what have you chosen to play for us today? And I said, it's an original composition. I sat there and I vamped. I lost all sense of time. And about maybe 8 or 10 minutes into this, I go, okay, find a coda because you're going to end this masterpiece and race out of here because you're done. So I did. I left. And as I walked out, there was a young student there also auditioning, waiting to go after me, who was not nice to me, actually quite bitchy. and her name was Janice Fink. Cut to, the test results come in. Bronx Science, I don't know what happened. I was a national merit finalist. I scored higher than anybody else on the test. I knew nothing. So, of course, I get into Bronx Science. I also get into music and art. So did Janice Fink, who immediately changed her name to Janice Ian. Now you know the story. Did I go to music and art? I did not. I survived Bronx Science. Hey, I'm in the Bronx today, and the rest is history. That's just an aside I'll share with you since you talked about Brooklyn Tech. Okay. Sharon saying hi from Connecticut. Joy Dan is going to Mexico July 12th. Should I get airline tickets now or wait 54 days before? Wait 54 days before. Okay. Before we go any further, I want to share with you one of the funniest lifts from a cartoon that one of our readers, Bill Holmes, sent in. Let's go to that. This was from an original Tex Avery cartoon in 1943 from the Broken Arms Hotel when Porky Pig and Daffy Duck get their bill. I'm showing this to you now simply because if you're worried about resort fees and nickel and diming and $9 bottles of water and parking and internet, look at this bill. Does it ring a bell? 1943, just substitute, bottle of water and resort fee. I love the goodwill and the extra goodwill. Bill Holmes, thank you so much for sending that in. And now it's time for our trivia question of the week. This is a good one. Ready? What are the only two countries in the world that officially start with the word the? What are the only two countries in the world that officially start with the? It's a lot more difficult than you think. And by the way, I'm talking to you from the only borough in New York called the Bronx. It isn't Bronx, it's the Bronx, but it's not one of those answers because we're talking about countries. Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? Okay, I'll wait for a second, then I'll tell you. Let me scroll down here and see if anybody's jumping in. Okay, Karen's answer is wrong. Okay. Ted's on the phone here. Ted actually is wrong. So Karen guessed the Netherlands. It's not. It's Netherlands. And Ted said the People's Republic of China. Nope, it's People's Republic of China. Kerwin got it. Kerwin got one of them. You ready? It's in Africa. The Gambia. And the other one, I just saw Mary Branch got it, the Bahamas. So there you go. It's the Gambia and the Bahamas, and we're in the Bronx. All right, let's keep going here. Thank you for all your guesses. Ted's saying, oh no. Sorry, Ted. All right, let's keep going. Bottom line, we've got lots of questions to answer today. Here's one from Uganda. Uganda is open for tourism for gorilla trekking. Okay, we know that. Switzerland was covered by red sand from the Sahara 2 days ago. Incredible visual effects in dark yellow skies. Thank you for that report, Alexander. Okay, what is the state of international business travel to New York? Consuelo wants to know. Can you speak to the entrance process for international visitors at local airports? Well, it's the same process for us as returning Americans. We just have to show proof of vaccination and that negative COVID-19 test. And of course, you have to have a visa if you're coming overseas. Some of that's being loosened up a little bit, and hopefully that'll get better. But international business travel is basically still flatlined. And of course, what's happening in Ukraine, by the way, it's not the Ukraine, it's Ukraine, is obviously contributing to that. Okay, let's see what we have here. From Meza saying, my apartment is full of refugees here in Hungary. So far, my place is safe 30 miles from Ukraine. I'm a travel agent. We Hungarians have our travel plans, not specific impact, but we help and comfort refugees here. But Hungary is not their final destination. Yes, Hungary is almost a waypoint on the train. But thank you so much for doing what you're doing. Thank you for letting us know. Uh, okay, let's see. What do we have here? Test is also needed from, from the William E. Grady High School in Brighton Beach back in the day. Really? Okay. Lois wants to, can you use your own at-home rapid antigen test results? No, you can't. This is not an open book test. That's just to let you know what your condition is. It's not verified. So there you have it. Okay, here we go. All right, we're reading all the insurance policies. Nancy says, going to Egypt in 3 weeks, third attempt due to COVID. Can we still get a visa at the airport? Yes, it's about $25. All right, it is visa on arrival, just so you know. All right, let's keep going down here. Lots more people coming in. Consuela says, no, what I wanted to know is, are testing and vaccines available for foreign travelers for free? No, don't think so. All right, let's keep going here. I'm going all over the map here because everybody's coming in at the same time. All right, let's go to some of your questions that you asked in already, and we'll get to those. What's a good resource for tracking flight prices and trends? That's from Court. Well, you know what? There's a Farehopper, actually called Hopper, and they do a pretty good job of giving you alerts. You know what? Right now, the way I do it is keep in mind airlines are updating their fares 200,000 times per day, so they can pivot very quickly to changes in the marketplace like fuel prices. Now, having said that, I'm just checking it myself manually every day. I'm not waiting for an alert. It's happening almost too fast. Okay. Are any U.S. carriers still flying to Cuba? Yes, they are, but they're flying almost as charters and additionally some refugee flights. My belief is by the end of this year, probably after the midterm elections, you'll see the Biden administration reverse what Trump did in reversing the Obama policies towards travel to Cuba, and we'll see more scheduled service and easier ways to get to Cuba, probably by the first of the year of next year. All right. Here's one from Azah. What is my favorite destination in Tanzania? I'm not going to tell you. You know why? Because we have a special coming up. It's my next installment of the Royal Tour, a show that we've been doing for more than 20 years now. It's called the Royal Tour of Tanzania, or Tanzania, the Royal Tour. It's with the president of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan, who is an amazing story to tell. She's the first woman of color and a Muslim to run a country. And so I'm not going to give it away. But since you asked that question, this is a self-serving opportunity for me to ask Anthony to run this. Prepare yourself for an epic adventure through a land inhabited by peoples who cling tightly to ancient traditions, while their fellow countrymen freely embrace the marvels of modern life. It's a place that lays claim to being the cradle of all mankind, and boasts of fabled spice islands of rare beauty that reveal both a dark past and a shining example of how people of differing traditions can live together in peace and friendship. And on this trip, you'll sleep under the ocean, soar over the loftiest peak on this vast continent, float just above the reach of magnificent beasts, and descend deep underground in search of rare, precious gemstones found nowhere else on Earth. And our guide on this special journey is someone who knows this country better than most. She's explored its expansive terrain, talked to its many peoples and championed their dreams. She's a woman who's lifted herself from humble beginnings and overcame cultural challenges to confidently lead this country onto the world stage at a critical time in its development. Her name is Samia Suluhu Hassan, and she is the president of Tanzania. So buckle up. For the next hour, we're going on an exclusive inside the security bubble trip with this sitting head of state as she shows us her country as only she can. I'm Peter Greenberg, and this is Tanzania, the Royal Tour. And there you have it, a shameless plug, but I hope you got a chance to watch. As you noticed, April 21st it premieres on public television, and right after that is also available on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. I hope you got a chance to see it. Now, last but not least, a couple of housekeeping notes. The radio show this week, obviously on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be updating everything from Ukraine and what it means to you as well. Again, I'm going to repeat it. AmeriCares, Doctors Without Borders, Operation USA, that's opusa.org, or All Hearts and Hands. 4 unbelievably great, dedicated organizations that are doing some of the hard and necessary and immediate work in Ukraine and surrounding countries, helping the people who need it the most during this devastating time in world history. I hope you will contribute in any way that you can. I am racing out of the Bronx right now. I will see you on the radio. I'll also see you on television. And of course, April 21st, the Royal Tour of Tanzania. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If I didn't get to your emails today, send them to me, peter@petergreenberg.com. We'll answer them live on the radio. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next week.